Today, we're doing a deep dive into something pretty astonishing. The U.S. just unveiled a new drone, LUCAS.
And it looks, well, strikingly similar to Iran's Shahed-136 Kamikaze drone.
Almost unbelievably similar, yeah. It's kind of wild to think the U.S. is openly imitating a drone that, let's be honest, they weren't exactly praising before. Imitation isn't just flattery. It's actually becoming a strategic move.
It really is. And you know what's striking isn't just copying successful tech that's old news. Militaries have always done that.
Right.
It's the speed and, well, the whole geopolitical situation right now. It's happening fast.
That's a really good point, Thor.
Which brings us to the core question, right? Why this drone? Why now?
Exactly.
So our deep dive today is going to explore exactly that. Why copy the system they once, maybe even mocked? What is LUCAS? How does it work?
And maybe the biggest question.
Yeah.
What does this tell us about modern warfare? About U.S. defense strategy going forward?
We've got a stack of really fascinating sources you pulled together detailing this new drone, the tech, the strategy behind it all.
Yeah, consider this deep dive your shortcut to getting up to speed on what feels like a really pivotal moment in defense tech. So let's get started.
Okay, so to really get LUCAS, you first have to understand its surprising inspiration, the Iranian Shahed-136.
It's funny looking back, because this drone, which is now such a symbol of asymmetric warfare, it was initially kind of dismissed by some, wasn't it?
It was, but it's undeniably become one of the most copied drones out there today.
So what made it so appealing then, despite that initial skepticism?
Well, a few core things. It's cheap, really cheap, relatively speaking. It has an impressive range up to 2,500 kilometers, reportedly.
Wow.
And it packs a punch. It's mostly used as a kamikaze drone, delivering its payload directly.
And that low cost factor.
Yeah.
That's key, right? Because it uses commercial off-the-shelf parts.
Exactly. Which allows for mass production on a scale that's hard to achieve with traditional high-end military hardware.
And we've definitely seen its impact on the battlefield. Huge deployment in Ukraine. Russia even rebranded it as the Jiran 2.
And across the Middle East, too. It's being used to just saturate air defenses, overwhelm radar systems.
It basically highlights vulnerabilities in those traditional, very expensive defense systems.
Precisely. It's effective. And crucially, like you said, it's cheap to make and cheap to lose, relatively speaking.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, its simplicity, the low production needs, and how effective it's proven to be.
It's inspired a whole wave of imitators, adaptations all over the globe. It really has cemented its status as the symbol of next-generation attritable air power.
Attritable, that's a term we're hearing a lot now. Can you just quickly explain what that means for listeners?
Sure. Attritable basically means systems designed to be expendable. They're cheap enough that losing them in combat doesn't cripple your operations.
Yeah.
But they're effective enough to achieve real strategic goals. So it makes advanced air capabilities much more accessible, much more scalable.
So it really challenges that old idea of air superiority,
right,
where you needed these multi-million-dollar jets and complex systems.
Absolutely. Now you have mass-producible, fairly cheap drones that can potentially achieve similar strategic effects. It's not just a tech shift, it's economic, it's doctrinal. It forces everyone to rethink what military dominance even means.
That really puts its influence into perspective. I mean, from your view, what's the most surprising thing about seeing a major power like the U.S. now saying, okay, we need something like that? How did they approach it with LTM?
Well, the U.S. answer is LUCAS, the low-cost Uncrewed Combat Attack System. It was formally rolled out July 16th, 2025, right there in the Pentagon courtyard.
Yeah, I saw pictures, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth inspecting it. Developed by SpektreWorks out of Arizona.
That's the one.
And looking at LUCAS, I mean, the similarities to the Shahed, they're not subtle. Sources say it's the exact size, shape, and payload as the Shahed.
Right. Similar guidance to REO, GNS, OSN, the whole package.
So it's not just inspiration. It's almost like a direct functional mirror.
Yeah.
Does that, I don't know, does that raise eyebrows in the defense world? Or is it just seen as, well, that works, let's do it?
I think it's largely seen as pragmatism. The strategy behind it is pretty clear. The U.S. wants to expand its affordable air power options.
Right.
They're talking about systems designed for, spamming cheap cruise missiles, as some put it, keep the enemy's air defenses busy, sustain a war of attrition if needed.
Especially thinking about potential conflicts with powers like China or Russia.
Oh.
Overwhelm them with numbers and cost effectiveness.
Exactly.
So, technically speaking, what makes LUCAS tick? What are the specs?
Okay, so technically it's a Class 3 UAV. It's derived from an existing target drone, the FLM-136. Visually, yeah, it's very Shahed-like. Triangular wingspan, about 2.5 to 3 meters. Piston engine, Launch weight somewhere in the 70 to 100 kilogram range.
What I find genuinely remarkable, especially for defense projects which usually take forever, is how fast this happened. Concept to readiness in maybe 18 months compared to the usual 6 years.
It's incredibly fast. And that speed is thanks to programs like TRX, Technology Readiness Experimentation. That's run out of the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering's office. They're focused on accelerating this stuff.
It really feels like a case of innovation driven by battlefield realities, like how simpler tech sometimes just reshapes things completely.
Absolutely. You see parallels throughout military history. Sometimes the underdog tech forces a major shift.
But LUCS isn't just a copy, right? The sources say it aims to actually surpass the Shahed with some unique features. What are those key differences?
Yeah, definitely not just a straight copy. One big thing is modularity and flexibility. It has an open architecture. Meaning you can swap out different payloads, use it for recon, strike, electronic warfare, maybe even as a communications node. It's not just a one-trick pony kamikaze.
Okay, that's a significant upgrade. And what about operational agility?
That's another advantage. It apparently has multiple launch options. Rocket-assisted launch, RATO, or just launch from a truck.
So easier to deploy quickly, potentially by troops who aren't highly specialized drone operators.
Exactly. Makes it useful in more places, more scenarios, even remote or basic locations.
The network integration piece also caught my eye. It can act as a communications relay within something called the MUSIC network.
Right, multi-mission unmanned systems communications. The idea is to help maintain secure comms, especially when things are contested, lots of jamming maybe.
And it supports swarm tactics, autonomous cooperation.
Yeah, so it's designed to be part of that broader American combat network, working together with other systems, potentially in large numbers.
Okay, and you mentioned payloads, but there's another really key difference from the Shahed, isn't there? Something about reuse.
Yes, that's a major one. Reusability. LUCS has modular enhancements that allow it to be reused in certain setups. Whereas the Shahed is pretty much a one-way trip. LCK could potentially fly a mission, maybe reconnaissance or EW, and then be recovered, or even survive certain strike profiles.
That adds a whole different layer of cost effectiveness and flexibility.
It really does.
That reusability angle is fascinating. So it's attritable, but maybe not always expendable. It sort of redefines the term a bit.
Exactly. It shifts from purely expendable to maybe conditionally expendable or even recoverable, depending on how you use it. It's a subtle but important distinction.
And all this LUCS development, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It fits into this bigger strategic picture, this unleashing U.S. military drone dominance idea.
Absolutely. This isn't just about one drone model. It's part of a really sweeping change in U.S. drone policy, driven by that July 10th, 2025 memo from Secretary Hegseth, backed by an executive order, too.
And the main goals of that policy are?
Pretty straightforward. Buy way more drones, cut the red tape around acquiring them, and really ramp up production of these expendable or attritable systems.
Make drones almost as common and easy to get as ammunition, essentially.
That's the idea. Change the whole mindset.
And it's changing the procurement process, too. Reclassifying smaller drones, Group 1 and 2, as basically consumer goods or expendables.
Right, empowering commanders at the unit level to just buy them directly, bypassing the old, slow acquisition systems.
Even though Il-EPOS is a bigger Group 3 drone, it seems like the same push for speed is applying there, too.
It is. And alongside that, there's a big focus on domestic production and supply chain security.
The Buy American push, expanding that blue UAS list of approved secure drones.
And that Department of Commerce investigation, the Section 232 probe, into drone imports, especially from Chinese companies like DJI and Autel, it's all about boosting U.S. innovation and making sure the supply chain is resilient.
And it's not just about building them, but flying them too, right? Pushing the FAA on faster certification, especially for beyond visual line of sight BVLOS operations.
Yes, the whole policy screams speed, scale, and accessibility. Get these things built, approved, and into the hands of operators faster.
So let's bring it back to the listener. Why does all this matter to you? This isn't just geeking out over a new piece of military hardware, is it?
No, not at all. What we're seeing is potentially a really profound shift in military thinking, a move towards this accessible, scalable, networked, attritable air power.
It changes how countries plan for conflict, how they spend their defense budgets.
And even what military dominance actually looks like in the 21st century. It's a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. It impacts defense spending globally, shakes up the defense industry, and could shift the balance of power as this kind of drone tech gets easier to get and evolves faster through, well, imitation and innovation.
Understanding this helps you cut through the headlines and see the deeper strategic shifts happening with military technology.
It's not just about copying. It's like realizing that sometimes a simpler solution, if you can scale it up and integrate it smartly, can really force a high-tech opponent to spend massively just to counter it. It's almost like strategic judo.
That's a good way to put it. It signals this doctrinal shift, taking something learned from an adversary and turning it into an integrated, modular, maybe even reusable asset for your own side. It's quite a turn of events.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe a provocative question for you to consider. As countries increasingly embrace these disposable combat systems and drastically speed up how quickly they develop and field them,
What new ethical challenges, what new strategic dilemmas might pop up in a world where advanced military power can be produced and deployed at such, well, unprecedented speed and scale?
Don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the biggest shifts in aerospace, geopolitics, and defense innovation.